Today we're talking to Sneh Mkhize. She is the Senior Vice President for Human Resources at Sasol, and would like to be able to have a conversation on talent and talent management.
We manage very proactively the different generations within our organization. As you know, most people join us as graduates and literally leave us when they retire. As we have a very low turnover, which is a blessing in some ways, but also a challenge because you also need to refresh your talent regularly. So we have that group of people that have been with us for years and that have gotten used to a certain way of operating. Yet we have quite a strong drive to get younger people in, and also part of our diversity and inclusion drive is to get more mid-career professionals in, obviously, to drive some of the agenda that I spoke about around diversity.
Sure.
So increasingly, we're becoming quite a multi-generational organization. And the EVP that I described to you is a kind of one-fits-all kind of EVP. So one of the decisions we made actually this year in May as an HR leadership team is that we need to start differentiating that EVP based on the segments of the different generations that we have.
Sure.
And one of the things that we've driven very strongly in the last, let's say, 4 years or so, is the whole integration of women into our operations. And as a part of that, we have a very clear strategy. We have a women's network across Sasol, and we are driving specific mentorship circles to integrate women into our mainstream and to help them develop into roles when they become available. So we're starting to adopt a similar approach to millennials because one of the things that we realized is that we're not really focusing on them as a generation, and therefore we're not tapping into some of the knowledge that they have or some of the ways that they have of accessing markets, of thinking about strategy, etc. So one of the things that the talent team is working on right now is setting up a young Sasol network, so to speak, that we can tap into, help leaders tap into for innovative ideas, tap into for strategic ideas on how we grow this organization, how we approach certain markets. But also what we've found is that the millennials have far more interest in helping the organization to reach out to communities and to contribute far beyond their roles as engineers or scientists, etc. They want to be able to contribute to community development by donating their time, not just money, by actually getting involved in some of the projects that are close to their hearts. So we're trying to, through our employee volunteerism program, we're trying to also facilitate that far more explicitly, which is something we hadn't done previously. So we're doing our best. I don't think we have it completely down yet, but at least we are aware of that, and we're doing very specific work to address it. You probably have heard of the Sasol Inzalo Foundation, do quite a bit of work in terms of really supporting the education of young people. Through a lot of the programs that we run through the Inzalo Foundation. And those people don't necessarily have to be employed by us. We actually support the schools in the communities, we support the teacher training in the communities, we support with science and maths materials in some of those schools in the communities that we serve. And it's a lot about really empowering the talent within the communities, not necessarily for our own use, but also for the communities and for the country, etc. So we've refined our succession planning process quite significantly in the last 3 years, and the reason for that is we changed our operating model as a business completely, obviously with the view to becoming far more international and far more integrated along our value chain in the way that we operate. And therefore, our succession management had to be far more integrated as well. We come from a history of running our divisions quite independently. And what the new operating model requires of us is that we work across boundaries in a much more interdependent way. And therefore, our succession management has had to be far more integrated, far more international in its approach. So we now have talent forums which are really built around the different aspects of our business, three aspects, which is buy, make, sell, which is really our value chain, and that really drives, first of all, far more integrated planning around our people. It also drives a far more organization-wide or SASO-wide view of our talent, so that when we plan for successors to key roles, we're not only looking at the mining business and only looking at the Synfuels business, but we look across the value chain, which has really widened our pool of successors, and obviously given our people much more opportunity to move across. So through our succession management process, we're not only managing development of talent into key roles and key leadership roles in the organization, but we also aim to drive mobility across businesses and internationally.